Hello and welcome back to the Niche Football Podcast. And as you can see as a viewer, we are joined by a special guest. We are joined by American Samoa captain Ali Mitchell. Hello, Ali. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thank you for coming on. The first thing I do like to ask my guests when I have them on is outside of football, in your own words, who is Ali Mitchell?
I'd say Lee Mitchell's just a regular guy. Loves his family. Um, Likes to spend time doing anything outdoors, recreational, really. Um, yeah, loves his faith and just kind of takes each day, day by day.
Fantastic. Well, what we'll do then? We'll start. You've just been over making history for the American Samoa national team, but we'll get to that in a bit. We'll talk about how you got into football first. So, where did you find your passion to the game?
Yeah, I think for me, it was a little difficult getting into soccer. So my family was we played a lot of different sports. We were a pretty athletic family. So our family sport though was golf. And so that was kind of where we put a lot of our time and effort. And then I I didn't start playing. I played like in little YMCA leagues here
Hmm.
in the States. But I did not start playing competitive soccer until I was 16.
Yeah.
Um, just because I think my family was so focused on golf that that was kind of like what I was going to do. My brother and sister both played collegiately, so that was just kind of the path that had been pretty much paved for me. But you know, I when I would score when I was younger, there was no other feeling than scoring a
Hmm.
goal. Like it was just the greatest feeling for me. So I knew that's what I wanted to do, but to get my foot in the door just seemed almost impossible because I grew up in a very small rural town in South Georgia, so there wasn't a lot of soccer opportunity. The nearest club was an hour away one way, so that just didn't seem like possible for my
Hmm.
parents to do. So though when I turned 16, I had decided that I was just going to quit every sport, including golf, which my family didn't take well.
I can imagine
Um,
so.
yeah, so I quit that and then I drove to Jekyll Island, Georgia, which was, like I said, an hour one way. And
Hmm.
that was where I tried out for club soccer. And at the time, I had no proper soccer training. And the kids there for that club had been playing together since they were like 6 and 8, usually kind of what you hear
Yeah.
normally. So that was a real eye opener for me because I was just kind of going off of my speed and athleticism. Um, but I learned real quick that there was more to soccer than
Yeah, I
just
was
that.
going to ask, considering you've joined or pretty much 10 years after most people even start, how did
Yeah.
you find it going into that, considering you've not played before and they've been playing 10 years? Like, did you see the big difference in understanding probably of the game mostly?
Yeah, definitely. That was a big part of it. Just the soccer knowledge for me wasn't there. There was so much that they had already learned, certain like how they wanted to defend certainly or attack, pressure, even little things like body feints I just had not been exposed to. And
Mm.
so for me that was great. I learned so much in my first season there, but it's funny because I took my best friend with me. We were gonna try out together, and the kids at this club actually played in a high school that was in our conference. So
Okay.
every time we would play them, we would lose like 10-0. um, in the first half. Like it would be pretty bad to where their coach would say, "All right, you can't score unless you guys score with headers." And
Oh, okay.
they were very good. So I knew that if I wanted to get better, that's where I needed to go. And after the first tryout, my friend and I, we were so humbled because, like you
Mm.
mentioned, just the soccer knowledge, and just doing drills. We had not really done drills like that, and so we kind of after the first trial, the coaches they were like, "Well, we'll see you guys back tomorrow," and we were like, "Okay." And when we got back into my car to go home, we kind of just sat in silence for the
Yeah.
first 30 minutes of the drive, and I was like, yeah, we don't have to go back. Like, this isn't, we don't need this, to be good at soccer. And that was mainly me just making up an excuse. I think I was
Mm,
a bit intimidated. But later that night, I texted him and I was like, no, we have to go back. I quit every sport and,
mm.
you want this as well. So that was probably the best thing that we did was we went back and I just, every single training session, tried to learn something new from one of the guys that I just thought was an awesome player. And my game just grew exponentially, really, with just one season. So that was really beneficial for me.
So I won't lie, it has been difficult finding a bit of information about your early career. I mean, you said it didn't start till very late, but
Yeah.
what I have just about managed to find online is you were both with the Middle Georgian Knights and the
Mhm.
Ware County Gators.
Yep.
One high school, one's college, university.
Yes. Yep.
What was the so when you went between the two, did you notice the big step? Because you was already late to the game, and then you've got these high school and college athletes. Did you notice a big step between the two?
So I definitely did. I think when I got to college, just because the teams that we were playing against, um, my college was in the NAI division,
Hmm.
and there's no limit on how many foreigners can be brought over, and
Okay.
so that was like another step. Just because I think the soccer overseas is just, in my opinion, obviously I think it's a lot better. And so that was tough playing against guys like, one team had just their starting 11 was all from Germany, and I think some of the guys
All
had been
right. Yeah.
playing in like top divisions there. Some had even been on like the U17 teams at
Hmm.
one point. So that was also an adjustment. But I think once I had learned proper soccer and I could use my athleticism, it made it a little better, but it was still very hard an
Hmm.
adjustment.
Honestly, that is the only club thing I've managed to find about you so far. What are you doing now in terms of club football?
So I actually there's a ton of UPSL teams here in Atlanta, but
Hmm.
I kind of just I don't know, I don't want to say I like gave up on playing it. It just life gets hard whenever you get a career. So
Yeah.
I play 7v7 in a league here called Silverbacks, and I play every Tuesday and Thursday, and then on Tuesdays I play on about I play about 3 games a night.
All
So
right.
I kind of get my fix that way. But I am actually kind of actively looking for a UPSL team to join. I
Hmm.
kind of, after the last tournament, kind of got the hunger for it again. So um, obviously, I would love to play. It was always a dream of mine to play, like, continue to play at a high level. But like I said, you got to make a living and stuff like that. So
Yeah, some things do get in the way, to be fair.
yeah,
Especially if you're joining at such a late stage. Like a lot
yeah,
of people have
exactly.
already been passed over at 16, to be honest. But
Yeah,
if you can get it, you can go for it. Go for it,
yeah,
really.
right.
But so obviously there's not a lot on club, so we'll turn our attention a little bit to the international football then. Uh, Firstly, listeners may realise you from Georgia, Atlanta, in America. But you're the captain of the American Samoa national team.
Hmm.
How do you qualify for that? So people are aware.
Yeah, so my father was born in American Samoa. So through him, I qualify. So if you have a parent or a grandparent who is from American Samoa, born and raised there, then you qualify.
So usually, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong here. In the majority of international football, to get selected for the team, uh, you get head coaches that come out, watch you play the football, and decide, oh, they're good. Let's get them into the international fold, see what they can do. But I read that you yourself reached out to the Federation Football Federation of American Samoa. what
Yep.
happened with that? Like, because you don't often hear players asking the Football Association to play for them. It's usually the other way
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. I so my first time with the national team was in 2015, and just for whatever reason, I had become super interested in our culture.
Hmm.
Um, because at that time I had never been to American Samoa.
Okay.
So I don't know, it was my sophomore year in college, and then the documentary came out. So I ended up seeing the documentary on Netflix, and then um, I was online and I did a Google search and I saw the previous 2011 team
Hmm.
that won. So I read up on that, and then I think it was Christmas break. I went home and I asked my dad. I was like, is there any way that I could uh, play for the national team? And he was like, yeah, I think so, because I was born there, and so he was like, let me just ask my brother. So he asked my uncle John, and he said, yeah, and so I emailed the federation around December of 2014, and they had already, like you said, been actively scouting guys in the
Hmm.
states. And these guys, one of my former teammates, Frankie, he was one of them, and Dylan Hardy, and they had played at a higher level than I had at that point. So it made sense that I was kind
Yeah.
of not on their radar. Um, and so I emailed and reached out, and um, our CEO replied, like, sure, you can come, but send film. But if we've already been looking for players, and if you don't think you're at a certain level, then don't bother. Maybe it's not good for you. So I was like, oh wow, okay. But yeah, that's kind of how I reached out to them.
So from that, you went to Seattle, was it, to attend a training camp?
Yeah.
At what point did you think that, hey, I might actually be able to play for this national team? Like when you met all the other players, like did you think you was going to be up to the right standard?
Yeah, I kind of just went into it like, when I got that email back, I was like, oh well, I don't really have anything to lose. So,
Hmm.
they haven't recruited me. And so I'm just going to go play how I know I can play, and we'll see if they like me. And I think it was probably the first training session. I was like, yeah, I can definitely hang. And I think I
Hmm.
could be an asset for the team. So uh, we, we had a couple of games that weekend because it was a really quick turnaround. Um, and I ended up scoring, I think, like two or three goals in the two games that we had. So
Hmm.
um, after that, I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. I think I'm in.
So how did you? Because was it high school or college you was at that time? So I can get the
uh,
years right.
college.
You were still at college then.
Yeah.
So you were training football at college and you were
Mhm.
training for the national team at training camps. What were the differences there as well? Because obviously it's a completely different environment. You got your college football and you got international FIFA recognized football. So what
Yeah.
are the differences between them?
I think just uh, I guess the difference that I notice is that in the international camps, at least for me, they feel very you don't have any time to mentally rest, really.
Mm,
Like, it's very much so you have a job to do the minute that you step on the field. The same with college. However, it's everyone's a little tense because you're fighting for that spot, and you know that you only have a limited amount of time to really kind of prove yourself. So
mm,
you don't want to overdo it and look selfish, but you want to make sure that every touch you take or shot you get at practice, it really counts. And that can be, I think, mentally tiring because you have to constantly be locked in
yeah.
with what you're doing. But that's probably the biggest difference for me.
So from there, you've gone on to make, I think it's 7 appearances now for the national team,
Mhm.
including your debut, which was 2015.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Take me back then. How did you find your first experience in playing actual matches at international stage?
It was it was great, but I think I was very ignorant to
Mm,
what it would be like. And it was actually kind of 2015 was a bit of a letdown for me because the day before we left for American Samoa, then to go to Tonga, we had a game. Um, or I'm sorry, not a day, a couple weeks before. I had a really bad injury to my ankle,
Oh, okay.
so I did not train for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then my first time touching a ball was the first game of the qualifiers.
Oh, really? So no training at all?
Yeah,
You don't
just
get that very often anymore.
yeah, just rehab, and so between the mix of emotions and then just not really being 100% fit,
Mm,
it was tough, but um yeah, the first game you just feel all kind of things. You feel anxious, you feel excited, you feel proud to be representing your country. And it took about the first 15 minutes to really get settled into the game.
mm. You've well, I did notice that you personally, when you play, you have got a very good record. I think you've got 3 wins out of your 7 appearances you've played, which his historically, unfortunately, it hasn't gone too well for the American Samoa national team. But
Yeah.
3 wins out of 7 is an incredible achievement. What do you think by yourself playing? What do you think's been the upturn in the recent years for the national team? What's made the improvement?
Yeah, I really think just um ever since they started kind of coming to the mainland and getting help from
Mm,
players here, I think that really helps improve the federation because we have experience that the guys back home don't necessarily have.
mm,
It's a very small league that they have. They're always playing together, so they don't see it's not very diverse. They don't see
yeah,
different playing styles, and then if you're not seeing different playing styles and you're not playing against necessarily better competition, then there's no
yeah,
really ability to grow. So I think just continuing to let or recruit guys from here and then letting what we have learned over the years kind of teach to the guys back home.
mm,
It's been great because the guys back home are so receptive to what you teach them. They want to get better themselves, and
yeah.
so anytime I've ever or any of the other guys have ever kind of tried to say, hey, maybe try this differently or whatever, they've been super receptive, and you can see them actively working on it in the camps, which is great for us.
So it's actually a good time in American Samoa football because, as you said, the men's team is improving and the women's team are also really improving. They've just
Yeah,
reached their semi-final. Well, unfortunately, they did lose earlier today, uh,
yeah,
but they got to the semi-final, which I think is probably the first time in the women's national team history. So there's a massive upturn in the football, especially the quality for the American Samoa teams at the minute. So
yeah.
that's something we all need to look out for in the future. But we'll fast forward a little bit. We'll come to this year, and we've just had the biennial FIFA Series. That's the second ever FIFA Series. It's every 2 years this tournament. Um, an incredible competition that puts teams together from different confederations that ordinarily wouldn't play each other. So lots
Yeah.
of history made. Firstly, American Samoa playing outside of the Oceania, landing in Puerto Rico. How was the camp out there?
It was great. We spent most of our time though. I think the training camp was in Orlando,
Okay.
um, and so when we got to Puerto Rico, we had maybe just a few days there really to kind of prepare. It was more of just cleaning up certain things and going over film and stuff like of that nature. But it was great. The whole experience there was great.
So it was the first ever time that the nations played outside of their continent. Did the team feel as if they were already making history by just being in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, definitely. That was kind of one of the talking points. We had obviously we wanted a better result, but we just were super proud to be there together, uh representing American Samoa and the OFC. So we were well aware of what was kind of happening.
Going into the series, the national team had just hired Diego Gomez. I think it was only about 3 weeks before.
Mhm.
Um, he's a man with a rich history, having been on the books of both Barcelona and Real Madrid in his youth career, and he's played for a number of Spanish sides as well as a stint in Hong Kong. What was your first impression of Diego Gomez when you first had your interaction with him?
Man, so I guess my first interaction, I didn't really know, much about him, but honestly, I love the guy. He was calling me before he was even announced the coach, really, I think, or maybe they had just announced the coach. He was calling and checking in on me, kind
Hmm.
of already building a relationship, and talking about things that he wanted to implement, and just asking questions about our culture. Um, and that I had a lot of respect for him because of
Hmm.
that. And then when I got to the camp and I saw what he had been doing with the guys and just how he ran the trainings and how he talked to the players, I had even more respect for him.
That was going to be my next question. Like, what did he implement into the team in that short space of time before the series? Did he change
Yeah,
anything massively before he went into the tournament?
yeah. So I think he definitely did his homework with all of the players. He watched all of the qualifiers and previously and the players that were returning, and kind of put people in their positions based off what he had seen, and then implemented the guys that we were bringing in that were new into to fill the other spots. And I think the biggest change um, was we played with a five back. And I mean, that had never been a formation that I'd played with.
Hmm.
So, but I know why he did it. With the personnel we had, it made sense. So, um, yeah, I think he just kind of did his homework and then made certain calls based on that.
So you played both the US Virgin Islands and Guam in your two games. Unfortunately, you did succumb to defeat in both. But prior to the tournament, what aims did you yourself have, and what did the team think they could achieve in this series?
Yeah, I think we had a lot of, like I said earlier, we had a lot of hope for a different result. But for me personally, I just wanted to, just make our country proud and do the best we could do. And I was so happy for the guys, excuse me, who got their first cap and who just went out there and played, uh, and didn't give up. Because if you compare the two teams, obviously you have the U.S. Virgin Islands who have kids currently, either they're finishing up their D1 seasons in college
Yeah,
or they have just signed, and then they have other guys playing um, year round in different leagues, and then you have American Samoa who you got an old guy like myself who doesn't necessarily play club year round, and other guys who are they have regular jobs as well, and then the guys from the island who just go out there with raw talent.
yeah.
And for me, the fact that our guys didn't give up even though we were getting beat, that was I could take that because that's something that we can build off of and
Yeah.
take back to our Oceania and compete with that.
Is there has there been any indication from Diego Gomez going forward? Has he got any plans in place already?
I think that's something that we were discussing when we were leaving, that we would like to, to be better, we're gonna have to meet more frequently. It's hard
Hmm.
when, we're all spread out in the States and then you got a group of guys back in American
Yeah.
Samoa. So that's something that we're trying to implement this year. We would like to hopefully during the next FIFA window, maybe try to get a friendly again or have a few more training camps. For some of the things that we have going on in 2027. Um, so he's definitely got his foot on the gas with that, trying to get as many meetings as possible.
So I'm also sure you're aware, but you scored both goals against the US Virgin Islands in the opening game, and you became the all-time top scorer for American Samoa with them two goals.
Yeah,
How does that make you feel, being the number one name on that list?
yeah, really, really proud. I Yeah, I don't know. Like I never really thought that. a guy like, coming from just small town in South Georgia would have done something like that. I have always said that I've wanted to make history, and it wasn't until the tournament someone was interviewing me, and they said the same thing, and I kind of was like, oh wow, I didn't realize that. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I've and I just have so much love for the island that if I can give back in any way, even though it's a small thing, if I can give the people back home hope and to inspire them
Hmm.
to someday take my name off and then someone else become the highest goal scorer. That's it's kind of what it's about for me.
Do you think, again, for your personal uh, goals for the national team, do you think you're going to be able to get the game time and opportunities to catch up with Nicky Salapu as the most appeared player? He's got 24, so
Yeah,
you've got a bit of time. Do you think you'll get there?
I hope so. I think the last World Cup qualifier, I was pretty set on being content with like not actually playing in the next one.
Mm.
Um, but then before I left the island, my grandmother, um, she asked if I was going to come back for the next World Cup qualifier, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to be pretty old, and the body won't really work the same way." But
Not what it
she
used to be.
exactly, yeah. And she said, "Well, if you just go home and you train when you can and you stretch when you can and you eat right, you'll be able to come back." And so that meant a lot that, we had that conversation. She passed last year, so I do want to keep going back as long as I can.
So I noticed because I watched both the games, I noticed you've got quite a few youngsters there as well now.
Mhm.
Um, what level do you think the new talent coming through can reach?
Honestly, I think after seeing the past tournament and the guys and their hunger for wanting to get better, I don't feel like I can put a cap on the
Mm,
ceiling. I think that if they continue to work hard and you know do the right things that we have to do and be disciplined while we're away from each other, I think that there's so much progress to be made. I think that they can, or we can, win the first round of the qualifiers. We can give people a run for their money. They're just promising. Ben, who is a co-captain, he's a center back.
mm,
He's a great player. Michael Settles in the midfield is a great player, and then some of the guys from the island. Bill J, he's always wanting to learn and get better. Fia, and then Jonica, he's got a lot of raw talent. So I
mm.
think with the proper training and the proper time spent together, I think we could be a team to look out for.
What's the next run of games the team's got?
So the one I know for sure that we should be competing in is the Pacific Games next year,
Okay.
which will be July, I believe July 27th through August 8th. Um, and that's something that we will definitely be participating in.
Will you have an eye on playing in that? Because I don't think you played in the last one, did you?
We did not, no.
No.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't play.
Yeah, sorry,
Um,
I meant personally you didn't play, did you? On the
correct, yeah.
last one. Do you have your eye on playing in this next one?
Yeah, definitely so. Like I said, I think I left Puerto Rico pretty hungry, so and I realized, my time's running out, so I want to play as much as I can. And be able to, help the team in any capacity. So I'm definitely going to that.
Well, that's fantastic. We'll end it there. I think we've got covered everything, and particularly the FIFA series that's just been.
Yeah.
Um, I want to thank you for coming on. It's been very interesting. Would you like to plug anything?
Well, I appreciate you having me on as well.
Thank you for coming
And
on. No, it's been a pleasure.
yeah, we appreciate the support. So hopefully, we can get some wins for you guys and make everyone proud.
Have you got any socials you want to shout out or anything? I'll put them all in the description anyway.
Yeah, sure. Only social I'm really active on is Instagram. So Alo Mitchell, ALO, and then just Mitchell.
I'll pop it in the description when the episode comes out as well. So
Awesome.
there we go. There goes the final whistle on this podcast. Thank you again, Ali, and we'll see you at the next kickoff.